with Martin Biron and Marty. Craig Button was pretty clear when he said they just don't have a team that's good enough to contend for a Stanley Cup. Of course, he's talking about the Oilers. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree, and the record is showing that Craig Button is right. They don't have a team good enough right now to contend for a Stanley Cup. And yes, they have potentially the best two players in the game with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And when those two are producing and they are scoring and they're getting the Oilers on the board, the Oilers have a much better chance to win. But it's not just about your top-end player. It's about the group of 20 players that you dress every night. It's about the goaltending, the defense, the special teams. And if you get pushed around a little bit, and if you deal with adversity, how do you respond? You look at the game against the Montreal Canadiens. In the first period, Connor McDavid is looking backdoor right to Zach Hyman, and they didn't connect, and he's slamming his stick on the wall. I get it. He's a competitor. He wants to win. But how do you respond from getting pushed around and maybe feeling some adversity in games? And right now, we're not seeing the Oilers responding well, and that's because they're not good enough to respond well to some adversity. So it'd be interesting to see what they do moving forward, maybe change some of the systems or maybe give more ice time to their top guys. But it's not that good a team right now to think that they are a Stanley Cup favorite.
Yeah, and let's talk about maybe why they aren't that good, because whether you think the Oilers have a chance to take a run at the Cup or not, most of us can admit that they do have some of these flaws between depth scoring, defense, and in goal. So, Marty, what do you think is the most pressing area of concern for the Oilers?
Well, for me, it's depth scoring because their defense hasn't really changed. They lost some defensive parts over the offseason, but it's still about Ekholm, about Nurse, and about Bouchard. So that really hasn't changed. The goaltending hasn't changed. It's the same goaltending that took you to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. So when you look at the back end, it's still pretty much the same thing. But on the offense, they lost so many pieces. Holloway, Fogle, McLeod, right? And they tried to replace them with some pieces that you thought were going to be able to add some depth scoring, but you have Jeff Skinner on the fourth line. Victor Arvidsson hasn't really produced to where you want him to be. So, and Zach Hyman isn't producing at that same level that he was last year. So, yeah, depth scoring is definitely a problem right now. You know, if you play the Oilers, take care of defending against McDavid and Draisaitl, and you'll be fine. Now, yeah, if they turn it up, as I said before, they're gonna be successful. But if you just defend against the top players, Draisaitl, McDavid, you're gonna be fine because the Oilers don't have the depth scoring right now to be able to put you on your heels and say, hey, you have to defend more than two players on the Oilers.
Well, at least they're not completely stuck because the Oilers do have some wiggle room with the cap if they wanted to make any kind of changes. They have over $5 million in cap space. And it's an all-Canadian matchup tonight on TSN 5. Both the Oilers and Sens have lost 2 straight, so they'll both be hungry when puck drops at 7 Eastern.